on me. Don't chew on me. Don't chew on me. Your goat coughs. Is it a good cough or a bad cough? A normal cough or a begin to worry about cough? Goat coughing can be normal, and it can be a sign of something that's just not right in your goat. That's what we're going to be exploring today. This was actually a question that was asked by Josh. He emailed me and he said, "Hi, I recently purchased your goat binder and am the proud papa of 5 beautiful, pretty young goats. 2 are still on the bottle. Well, I think one of my goats may have a cough. I've been looking through the binder. I did a search in the online version too, and I found where a cough is listed as a sick symptom, but I can't find any info on what to do as a pre-treatment before I consider a vet visit. She is acting fine, eating and playing with the others. No signs of being sick that I can tell, except it sounds like she gets something stuck in her throat every now and then, almost like a dog or a cat sounds like if they have a fur ball. Is there anything I can do about this cough fur ball sound? I know you're not a vet, but I'm looking for advice. Thank you." Your goat has a cough and you're worried. I get it. I look at my goats with leery eyes, sometimes wondering what's going to pop up next, what new lesson I'm going to have to learn. I've gone through hefty lessons of learning how important minerals are for goats and how absolutely essential copper is in a herd, and how to work through diagnosing sick goats. And then they have to cough, which makes you just stop and try to decide, was that a good cough or a bad cough? You see, goats do cough. It's actually normal, in fact. Goats chew their cud, and to get that cud up, they cough it up. Can you burp up some cud and start chewing, please? Yeah, there you go. You didn't cough it up though, but you started chewing it. Thank you. If you see or hear your goat cough and then look over and see them chewing their cud, then that cough was a beneficial cough. There are other reasons that a goat will cough though. Sometimes there's dust and wind or maybe even dusty or moldy hay. If your area is having a dusty and windy year or just a time of year, this can affect your goat herd. We can get inside and get out of that wind and that dust completely, but our goats don't have that leisure. If you notice that your goats are starting to cough and it's pretty dusty outside, then you can most likely attribute your goat's cough to it just being too dusty. You may also notice a goat start to cough if you're feeding them moldy or dusty hay. You don't want to feed your goats moldy hay ever. And if your hay is extremely dusty, maybe consider wetting it down before feeding it to your goats if it seems to be a problem for them. Goats also can have allergy issues, just like us humans can. When there are high pollen counts, this may be causing your goat to cough. So if you've ruled out that it's not pneumonia, that it's not lungworms or a cold, and your goat doesn't have a temperature, then it's most likely allergies. You can actually give goats a product like Benadryl to help them with any allergies that they might have. The other day at lunch, I swallowed wrong and I had a coughing fit. Those are so annoying, aren't they? Like, why did I just choke on that? How absolutely silly. Well, our goats can do the same thing. Simply eating and drinking too fast can cause them to cough. But if your goat is displaying signs of a cough that also is accompanied by a temperature, and your goat acting sick, then you may need to pay attention and act quickly. In truth, goats don't usually cough with pneumonia, but they can cough with Pasteurella pneumonia abscesses, which is chronic pneumonia that creates abscesses in their lungs and causes them to cough. Believe me, pneumonia in any form is not something that you want to be dealing with. Now, this video isn't about pneumonia. I've already written about my experience with pneumonia and how to treat it in an article and in a video on my channel. So please take a moment to, after this video, watch that. So just really, it's serious. Pneumonia is serious. It can kill a goat in as little as 4 hours overnight. You can put your goats to bed at night and then wake up to a dead goat. It's that serious. If your goats are wheezing or have a raspy sound to their lungs and they are practicing social distances and are off by themselves and they have a fever, then most likely they have pneumonia. If your goat is coughing and doesn't have a high temperature but also has clear or white snot, then your goat probably has a cold. And you know what? Colds are pretty common in humans and in goats. They can get them too. Now, the healthier the human and the healthier the goat, the better that we can all combat the little bugs that come along. But it can still happen. I believe that it's important to not just jump into antibiotics too quickly. In the case of a cold in goats, we don't want to create resistance to antibiotics so that they don't work when we actually really need them to. What you can do is support your goats naturally and help give them more nutrients to help them regain their health quickly. Give your goat a dose of probiotics and some Nutrigen, and give them some fortified B complex to help just boost their system as well. When a goat isn't feeling well, they may go off feed and they need B vitamins for their rumen to function properly. Make sure you have their mineral feeders filled with minerals and keep an eye on them so that you know that they are in fact getting better. You certainly don't want their cold to turn into something worse, but you can support your goat's health to assist them to get better. Goats are so funny. When my dogs come into the goat pen or something is amiss, I will hear my goats sneeze, a loud, fervent sneeze. It's their way of alerting everyone that there is danger lurking. It's their warning signal. And little cute baby goats, they're playing and they'll sometimes also just sneeze just because they're having fun and talking to each other. Your goats may also just let out a happy, content sneeze every once in a while. The more time that you spend with your goats, the more you will start to just understand and distinguish what the noises your goats make mean. Now, if your goat is sneezing and it doesn't seem like anything I just mentioned, then it may be that they're sneezing because of allergies. And in some cases, a nose botfly can cause sneezing in goats too. If you find that your goat is coughing for no reason, they don't have a temperature, they don't act sick, they don't have pneumonia, they cough but don't start chewing their cud, and they don't seem to have any other signs of allergies, and there's no dust in the air, then it's possible your goats have lungworm. Lungworm infections usually happen when goats are being raised in areas of lots of rainfall and on pastures with standing water. Many times a goat with lungworms will appear to be healthy. If the worms get too severe, the goat may begin to cough and have trouble breathing and may even have a loss of appetite as well. And because of this, secondary infections can begin in the form of pneumonia or bronchitis. And to add to the worry, these worms cause scarring in the bronchial and in the lung tissues, which will affect their lung capacity in the long run. These worms enter the goat either when they're out browsing and eat the forage with a larva on it, or they may even eat a slug or a snail. The adult worms then lay eggs in the goat's lungs and bronchial tissue. They hatch, they are coughed up, swallowed, and then they're passed out into the poop. The larvae are white and thin and can be as long as 3 inches. The life cycle is about 5 to 10 weeks in length, and it can remain infective to goats for at least 1 year. The good news is that a healthy goat with a mature immune system can fight off a lungworm infection, but the kids who are still developing their immune systems can be hit harder by lungworm infections. There are a couple ways to diagnose lungworms. There is something called a Bayerman fecal testing, but it needs to be done by an experienced operator. It's easy to do wrong and get incorrect results. And to know absolutely for sure that your goat had lungworms is to do a necropsy. The lungs and the bronchial tissues will be examined after the goat has died. What can you do to prevent your goats from getting lungworms? Well, here are a few suggestions. First, keep them off of wet, undrained pastures. Don't let them out to graze early in the mornings. That's when the slugs and the snails are most active. And rotate your pastures if at all possible during the year. If you really do feel like your goats have lungworms, then you'll give a 1% ivermectin orally before the new pasture season arrives and again in the early fall. All right, what this all means. If you find your goats coughing, you will need to spend a bit more time with them and work through all of the symptoms they're displaying, and then get to work really helping them if they need it. Document the symptoms that you see in your goat binder and also the treatment plan that you ended up giving your goats. In the end, it all really comes down to you spending time with your goats and knowing who they are and how they act normally. When you know that, then you will know when things are amiss. Keep those goats healthy and happy and support them when they aren't feeling well. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. My name is Delcy from A Life of Heritage, and I hope you have a great goat day. I will see you in that next video.